information regarding to these assholes. Now, you might hear some Telegram notifications going off. That is basically that Telegram group Pulse X buys pointing out big buys. I think it's over 10,000 US dollars or something like that. Anyway, that's not the point of the stream. Point of the stream is to point out now currencies and cryptocurrencies are being targeted by the SEC. Meanwhile, we are seeing things in the real world play out, which is actually related to like nation state terrorist sponsorship, like literally. Now we'll have a look here. FBI says North Korean hackers preparing to cash out after high profile crypto hacks. You can have a look at this, and what you're seeing is it goes on to explain how roughly they are able to track and trace, you know, certain wallets connected to certain groups. I believe it says FBI also linked to Lazarus group hackers, theft, so actual criminals doing actual crimes. This is not what cryptocurrency was meant for. It then points out also that hackers were able to contact individuals via LinkedIn with potential for high-paying job offers. It says this is a popular tactic employed by North Korea, so beware if you're on LinkedIn and you get contacted. Now, we're seeing it goes on. These agencies, through the agencies, are relatively all over reportedly all over these type of actions. Now, the name of the title is here. The US government has announced 10 million reward for information on members of state-sponsored North Korean threat groups, including the notorious Lazarus group. Now, the reason I thought I would cover this particular topic is because cryptocurrency is being used not for the right reasons. It is being also pointed out that cryptocurrency is allowing for these things to take place. Now, I'm no way supporting the fucking hacker groups, black hat hacker groups, ripping people off. Even if, you know, the people should have better cybersecurity and be able to counter back against hack attacks, that's not the point. The point is it then ties in nefarious groups to cryptocurrency, which gives ammunition for three-letter agencies to crack down on cryptocurrency as a whole, because it can be explained that, you know, these hackers use cryptocurrency and therefore cryptocurrency bad, I guess you could say is the logic. Now, the next one we see here is Binance TRM Labs provide key intel in ISIS members' arrest. Like literally, crypto helped stop some ISIS members. Now, you could go down some rabbit holes, etc., etc., of who trained who in what countries at what time frames, but that's not what this stream is about. This stream is about pointing out that cryptocurrency is being used for the wrong reasons, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, because the cryptocurrency and the blockchain is then also being used to track these people down. So my issue with how this particular narrative is being sold is as follows. If cryptocurrency allows for such nefarious means to take place, not so much the actual hacking itself, but I guess the facilitating of the movement of large amounts of money via cryptocurrency, however it is they're doing it. But at the same time, the agencies tracking them are able to A, determine who the wallets are, B, somehow track and trace who the individuals are, and C, once that money hits the real world to an exchange, it is then going into the fiat realm, and KYCs apply, and individuals who are touching that money, you know, are basically tainted, and they would be under the watchful eye of the relevant agencies. This is why I find it strange that the argument that cryptocurrency itself is, you know, facilitating this. It's like, no, it's criminals, in some cases nation state activists / terrorists. I wouldn't even say the activists, nation state actors / terrorists who are actually committing crimes, and this is how they're moving their money. Now, for then myself as a law-abiding citizen to be somewhere affected by this is very frustrating to see. Now you can say you're not, but I would disagree, because we see here Binance didn't actually specify how they were located, the individuals. So there's abilities out there to be able to, as I said before, track and trace, identify and watch the crypto, then watch the money. It does say here though, he then expects the illicit activities to shift to mixers and decentralized exchanges. So pointing out some, mixers. It then goes on to explain things like Tornado Cash, and then I guess the link between decentralized exchanges and potential mixers such as Tornado Cash. Now, this is frustrating again as a law-abiding citizen who maybe just wants privacy. Wouldn't the argument be, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, and well, not in this case because it's already happened, but say Tornado Cash wasn't sanctioned and you were from the US and you did use a mixer, isn't there a logical argument that once you take your cryptocurrency out, you're then going to have to explain where it's come from anyway? Once it hits a centralized exchange, identifying who you are, your bank account, etc. The argument could be, well, it could be made harder because maybe they're taking out different amounts and they're splitting it and sending it to God knows where, and however many people have to track and trace, making it harder for law enforcement and other relevant agencies. Maybe that's the argument. But if most people aren't doing these things, then wouldn't it be easier to identify when these anomalies are pointed out? Large amounts of money, I don't know. Going to strange countries, to strange bank accounts, I don't know. Now, we then see on the back of this, so this is, like I said, this is literal like spook stuff, issues of national security. There's North Korean hackers which are perpetrating crimes using cryptocurrency to move money around, reportedly, and they're being caught and they're being identified, which is good. But then we are also seeing ties to other literal terrorist groups, and they are using potentially mixers and decentralized exchanges. Then the argument could be, you want to crack down on all of that, it takes out the ability for this to happen. Now, that could be one argument, and one strong argument. However, it's almost like saying, if anyone does anything illegal with cash, you should ban all cash. And then you start to go to the realm of, we'll bring about a currency that's digital that we can track and trace and monitor. Henceforth, the central bank digital currency, the ultimate control on everyone. This is not something I can agree with. Now, the reason I continue to go over these two items is because if the ability to track and trace individuals exists because of the blockchain, and if the ability to identify who they are also exists, shouldn't it be easier to apprehend once the money hits the real world? It's just very strange how it's being sold. Again, I don't agree with the actions of literal terrorists and literal terrorist nations like North Korea. But for crypto to sort of cop it and being pointed out as the reason why these large amounts of cash can be moved, I'm not so sure that is correct. Why not say, well, why don't they just ban cash? Because in the end, if these individuals, groups, or whoever they are, and this is where the $10 million bounty comes from, if anyone knows who they are, 10 million up for grabs. But once this money hits the real world fiat system, in essence, it's in cash, and therefore all the same, regulations apply. Like, I'm not sure somehow magically crypto doesn't You know, somehow magically crypto doesn't exist whilst existing. Somehow crypto doesn't apply to, doesn't, you know, follow any law whilst being subject to all laws. And this is what is frustrating for this space. We see articles like this. It's a little bit older now. Another three-letter agency. I'm not sure why the SEC is going to war with crypto whilst this stuff is going on, like actual adversarial nations and actual terrorists, you know. Meanwhile, the SEC is going to war with crypto, and my dog's going to war with the outside rats and the birds. And you know, this is not like a small thing. Now, coming from the Hexion community, again, I've never been paid to make any of this content. The SEC came out and they decided to I'm not sure if that's coming through. It might be a little bit. So if the SEC comes through and can delist, you know, a token from their quote unquote decentralized exchange, I know it's just the front end, they didn't enable the certain code, they adjusted some code, it still can be traded on chain. I know all that. But what I'm saying is if an agency can come along, do what they did, target a founder and some other lines of code and absolutely crush the price, and then on top of that have decentralized exchanges follow suit, it is a very concerning world we live in. Because what happens if one day, you know, I did bring up the Council, I thought, you know, I'll point out an alternative to something like Uniswap, because fuck Uniswap, you know. Fuck Uniswap, fuck the SEC, fuck ISIS, fuck North Korea. I don't know if the SEC should be labeled with those two because, you know, they're kind of probably going against each other. But the point is, if cryptocurrency can be demonized from every angle possible, I see no articles saying this person got really rich from cryptocurrency and they now have a really rich, really successful life. They built a business around it. They built some, I don't know, company around it. They provide all these services and now they're very wealthy and they're being left alone. It's quite literally the opposite. We're seeing articles pointing out, I mean, rightfully so, that hackers are using cryptocurrency for nefarious means. Terrorists are using cryptocurrency for nefarious means, not just any cryptocurrency, but also mixers and decentralized exchanges, sites, sanctions applied to Tornado Cash for various reasons. Then we see SEC going to war with not just individual and founders, but also, you know, centralized exchanges. We've seen some really interesting plays on the banks who are basically supporting cryptocurrency, and now we're seeing quote unquote decentralized exchanges which supported them in the early days turn on an entire community because one three-letter agency said that crypto bad. It's really getting quite scary. It could be getting to the point. Now, this is not just to create some sort of FUD or make some shit up. This is my opinion, and I am reading from relevant articles, so there might be other articles counter to my point. So feel free to, you know, oppose anything I say. But for the most part, it just feels like, I don't know if you feel this, but it just feels like anything that can provide some level of freedom, especially financial freedom, because as we all know that basically time is money, and if you can make a lot of money, you have more time, you know. So just wait for the background noise. So in closing, Like I said, every time I stream, the dog goes nuts. I have no idea why. In closing, $10 million up for grabs to crack down on state-sponsored North Korean threat groups, including Notorious Lazarus. So if anyone has got some spare time and, you know, like looking at on-chain analysis, find these motherfuckers. You might get yourself $10 million. Also, the technology exists to be able to track and trace individuals, transactions, cryptocurrencies, etc. So I don't understand the need, all this need to cut back on cryptocurrency. Because once it hits the fiat world, like I keep saying, it's going through a centralized exchange or it's going to a bank account. You're paying your taxes on it. If you have to, you're paying your report. You're telling the bank where this money came from. To say that crypto is so nefarious, it's like saying, well, I take these bottle caps and I sold them for a profit and now I have this money. Just ban all bottle caps? What the fuck? Also, if you're on LinkedIn, be careful. Also, if you are unfamiliar with a mixer, be careful. There's serious consequences for fucking around with this stuff if you don't know what your jurisdiction is telling you. I don't know how to word it. Not legal advice, but get a fucking lawyer. SEC is it appears the SEC is going to war with crypto. I'm not sure if change of political party is going to change their the optics of crypto in their eyes. No idea. If anything, it could be a political string to pull, because one person might be pro crypto and one person might be against crypto, and the people against crypto. So if you're for crypto, you're for the Lazarus group and for the terrorists, But if you're against crypto, you're a good regulatory agency because you're against the terrorists and against Lazarus. Like, what the there's got to be a sweet spot somewhere in between for law-abiding citizens in this worldwide global economy. Alright, free speech signing out. Fuck Uniswap.